straight through the home, straight to his bedroom. No wasted movement, no confusion, no searching. They knew their path. Inside that room, Bola Ige was caught by surprise, and that was where his life was taken. A gun was raised, a shot was fired, a heart stopped beating. Bola Ige fell, and everything changed. The house that had been full of evening warmth had now carried a silence that felt heavy and final. For a moment, the world inside the house stood still. A family shouting, feet running, hands shaking, someone crying his name. He was rushed to the hospital, but he did not return. A man who had spoken on the biggest stages, who fought in legal battles, who stood against military rule, who carried history in his voice, was gone. Not in public, not in parliament, not in the spotlight, but quietly in his own bedroom. The death of Bola Ige did not need explanation to be frightening. If a minister of justice, with guards, with influence, with authority, could be removed so cleanly, what chance did the ordinary citizen have? The killing was more than a crime. It was a message. Whether it was a political plan, a personal dispute, or a silent arrangement, the meaning was clear. No one in power is truly safe when power becomes a battlefield. When the news of Bola Ige's death left his house and entered the world outside, it moved fast, faster than the night air could carry it. Phones began to ring, radios broke into programs, newspapers rushed to print late-night headlines, and across the country, a single question rose like smoke. How could this happen? This was not the death of a man in secrecy. This was the Minister of Justice, a man surrounded by security, a national figure, a symbol of authority. Yet, his life had been taken so easily. carefully with a small pause between sentences. Because